Get your money like a jagawas it, John, like a chini quest, your bem kiskok. So, well, even will also welcome to much chill. Ski you know, got peas uno. So, we joke came on, naga, we joke came to Tine. No, the lay was tweak, was good, Madawas, naga Magalub, John Evans, Sakobi. So, new jails, and that's this, naga, well, that's the guy we have now. And believe Hardeman, well, that's the guy we have now. Believe Hardeman, Sakobi now. The motion suck, naga, nook, no suck. So, we'll even naga, well, as a welcome to much chill. Well, that's the way, let away wagon, and naga book cool wagon, John Natoaganeg. The motion suck and naganuk masak wali when chum the meat ducks and naganigwas. John ni Johnuk. Wali when nagawas a welcome gamach. Chill pseude bamousawagan, naga pseude geg, naga pseude wen. My prayers are always of thanks. I offer up thanks for all that I have, for all that's important. And when we can truly start to give thanks and acknowledge all the good stuff that we have in our life, it makes going out and being of service and helping others just that little extra part of it. So my prayers for each and every one of you are to thank you guys first and foremost for your time and your commitment in whatever it is that you guys have devoted your life professionally, personally, and relationshiply. That's my prayers of thanks to each and every one of you, is to thank you for your time. I'd like to offer up thanks again to JEDI for allowing me to do this, and give thanks for all of our ancestors who are here. That's the important part. That's the connection part that we speak of when we do ceremony. We give thanks for the ancestors who we can't see. We give thanks for their energy. We give thanks for their light. We give thanks for the memories that they left behind us. And we all have those ancestors. You know, we all have them people who are no longer with us in our lives today. They were at once a part of it. And when we acknowledge them and when we ask thanks and we give thanks for them, and we don't do that in sadness, we do that in celebration. Any time that we burn our medicines, our ancestors instantly smile. Anytime we speak our beautiful Wolostigwe, Ladaway-Wagan, our beautiful Mausi language, our ancestors instantly smile. Now picture one of your ancestors who is no longer with us right now, and picture them the minute you shake a rattle. Picture them smiling. Think of their smile. If you listen hard enough, hear their laughter. That's what these ceremonies allow us to do. They allow us to connect on our own personal level. And I hope by sharing this prayer and this ceremony with you guys this morning, that what you can take away from it is that you guys will leave here with your own appreciation of their own ceremony that you need to do to get back in touch with your ancestors. I'll finish off this prayer by singing a song. And our songs are prayers. Our songs are not only things to listen to. Our songs are given purpose and they have direction. And the spirit world, which is always around us, they take notice when they hear these objects. They take notice when we speak of their name. They take notice when we think of them. You know, this life that we wake up to and have to have the honor and the privilege and blessing to wake up to is a gift. And we have to be able to enjoy it to the best of our ability. And it starts every morning by giving thanks. And that's the most beautiful part about ceremony. This song that I want to sing for you again is a welcome song. It's one of our oldest songs. And in our language, it's Guano-de, Guano-de. Guano is the welcome. And Aliyah Guano-de is we're all going to welcome. So we sing that song to our ancestors and we ask them to all come and join us. So think of your ancestors. Think of them. Give thanks for them. And in the same time as we did our smudge, we give thanks for all that we have to live for, all the people in our lives. So I'm going to sing this song, and we're going to call our ancestors in with us today.
That was traditionalist Evan Jacoby, and we'd really like to thank him for sending us that video of the opening prayer and song. It was really beautiful, and I hope you enjoyed it. For those of you who are just joining us, my name is Gwen McIntyre, and I'm with JEDI, the Joint Economic Development Initiative, and this is the first of our 5 webinar series on agri-foods and agriculture. I would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional unceded territory of the Wolastoqiyik and Mi'kmaq people, and that's looking over the whole of New Brunswick. This territory is covered by the treaties of peace and friendship with Wolastoqiyik and Mi'kmaq people first signed with the British Crown in 1725. The treaties did not deal with the surrender of lands and resources, but in fact recognizes Mi'kmaq and Wolastoqiyik title and established the rules for what was to be an ongoing relationship between nations. 2 of our other speakers are from Treaty 5 and Mohawk territory. So we're happy that they could join us. Being in a webinar series, it's important to acknowledge all of the lands that we are in and the territories that are represented here. We've got a couple of housekeeping tips. You'll see at the bottom, for those of you who've never been in a Zoom webinar before, which would be surprising at this point of the pandemic, but if you've not been in a Zoom webinar before, if you put your mouse on the screen, you'll see that there's some things highlighted at the bottom. There is a Q&A. So if any of you have any questions during the sessions, if you could write them in there. Connor is going to be monitoring the Q&A to see if we can answer those. There's also a chat session, so please feel free. You can chat amongst yourselves or with the panelists. There are options when you go into the chat. You can do a private chat to someone. You can also do a chat with just the panelists, or you can also do a chat with panelists and all attendees. So it would be great if you pick panelists and all attendees when you were in there. To let you know, we are recording this webinar. And yeah, so I'd like to thank our sponsors. Val's going to flip up a sponsors page for us. Our sponsors for this event are the Farm Credit Canada, or FCC, the Department of Agriculture, Aquaculture and Fisheries, which is the government of New Brunswick, College Communautaire de Nouveau-Brunswick, or CCNB, Atlantic Canada Fish Farmers, Artful Sciences, Olnewig, and Crown Plaza Fredericton. We're really happy that they could sponsor this event. It's very difficult for us to do these events like this without some sponsors. And now I would like to introduce you to the president of JEDI, Alex Deedham. He's going to bring a welcome message on behalf of the organization. Alex.
Yes, thank you, Gwen, and good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of the Joint Economic Development Initiative, commonly referred to as JEDI, I'd like to welcome all of you to the Agri-Food and Agricultural Growing Together webinar series. Today, as Gwen said, is the first of a series of 5 webinars relating to agri-food and agriculture for Indigenous peoples in New Brunswick. Did you know in New Brunswick, We currently import 35% of all of the food we eat, and that the average age of the New Brunswick farmer is 56 years old. Did you also know that in the 1970s, New Brunswick produced approximately 75% of our own food? You are probably asking yourself, why has this been such a drastic decrease in the farming in this region? Two of the main reasons are that it is hard for small farming operations to compete with large-scale industrial farms, and due to the ease of importing, we are used to see a wide variety of products that cannot be grown in this region. However, changes in the air, as there is an interest in rebuilding the local food system, as well as an increased demand for consumers, by consumers, and from consumers for locally grown and produced products. Sustainable farming is important during the time of COVID-19 and climate crisis, and there are many indigenous farming practices that have helped shape sustainable farming all over the world. Unfortunately, much of the knowledge surrounding indigenous farming has been lost to our people in this region, but we are resilient and continue to have an undeniable connection to the land. This webinar series is bringing together many key organizations and individuals who want to increase the agri-food and agricultural industry in our province. The opportunities are bountiful, just like our land. Today, we will talk about why we should be farming and who some of the key players are. Plus, we will hear our Natoaganeg Community Food Center started as a small food bank, and now it has several programs in the community. Well, I'd like to thank Darren, Savannah, and Erica, who are joining us here today. I look forward to hearing their presentations. We know that all of our participants will benefit from your shared experiences, knowledge, and wisdom. Our funders and sponsors enable JEDI to host our events. We offer a sincere thank you, merci, to our sponsors, Farm Credit Corporation, the Department of Agriculture, Aquaculture and Fisheries, the Crédage Communautaire de Nouveau-Brunswick, and the Atlantic Canada Fish Farmers Association, Artful Sciences, UNWEC, and the Crown Plaza Fredericton, as well as our funders, the Government of Canada and the Government of New Brunswick. Finally, JEDI would like to thank all of you for joining us here today. And a special thanks to all of our panelists and the staff who have worked hard to bring this event together. Waliwin, Walali, merci, thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Now we're going to jump right in with our first session. It's a reintroduction of agriculture to First Nation communities. Darren Cook and Savannah Ferguson, or Fortan Ferguson, are joining us today. Darren Cook is a Mohawk from St. Regis Reserve. Darren has had an extensive career at Agriculture Canada that spanned over 35 years. He has had the opportunity to work in many areas of the department, including program delivery, science, environment, and marketing. He retired over 5 years ago and has since been working with Indigenous students and involved in community engagement across the country, discussing and building awareness about agriculture. And Savannah Ferguson is a Swampy Cree from Opaskwayak Cree Nation, located in Treaty 5. She has grown up on Maliseet territory here in the Fredericton region. Savannah is a recent graduate of University of Ottawa and is currently a student counselor with Agriculture Canada's Indigenous Student Recruitment Initiative, from which she is also an alumni. Thank you for joining us, Darren and Savannah, and I will pass things over to you, Darren.
Thank you. First off, I'd like to say thank you for the opening prayers and for Alex introducing us all too. Thank you. And for being invited by the JEDI group, because I have this passion for agriculture, so I'm slightly over the top most of the time, but I've been dealing with a lot of other issues in my life over the last, in fact, right up till this last few minutes. I was just meeting with my son's psychiatrist, so it's been an exhausting week. And it's all just accumulated into today for some strange reason. But I knew how important it was here to come here and talk about agriculture and what I believe in. So I'll just briefly talk about myself and then move on to the discussion. What I'm going to be doing is just giving you a lot of high-level points, because you'll have other presenters over the next several weeks from Science and Technology. Jose Owens, I believe, will be presenting. You'll also have Patricia from the marketing side talking about, and you'll have program people talk about their programs. So what I'm going to do today is just a brief discussion on it all. So I spent 31 years working for the Department of Agriculture and Agri-food Canada. The last 5 years retired, but still working for Agriculture and Agri-food Canada. But after I retired, I said I would never do anything else but work on Indigenous issues related towards agriculture. So I'd like to say the last 5 years of my career have been the most enjoyable. So I get to work with a lot of youth. I get to do a lot of community engagement across the country, working on many of the different First Nation communities, and just engaging and getting to know them better and to build that trust and communication. So let me start off by saying that about the history. And Alex stole some of my thunder I was going to talk about, so I was kind of laughing at all that. But so the history to me, during the 17th and 18th century, it wasn't just the Europeans that developed the marshlands into agriculture. We were doing a lot of other types of agriculture long before they came here. And we were also responsible for helping them to develop that marshland. And we were growing rye, flax, barley, and corn way back then. We had an excellent knowledge of our flooding patterns, and that was very crucial to the Europeans. So we had a lot of botanical knowledge that has, like Alex said perfectly, we've lost that history. We had a history, and for about 3 to 4 generations now, we've been impeded to being able to enter agriculture at I like to say, a fair, balanced approach. If we were to start in agriculture today, we would need the additional land, we would need good land, and we started backwards because of the European ways. But we were involved in agriculture, fishing, and gathering long before. So I always like to make sure that we clearly understand that. Opportunities in agriculture. So Alex was saying, currently New Brunswick has over $1 billion generated towards agriculture in New Brunswick. So how do we tap into that moving forward, and plus do it in a way that's sustainable and means traditionally something more to us. So I would love to see us get involved in crops, animal, and food production. We need farmers. As Alex said, the average age really is 57 years old, and that's only going up. That's not going down. So we need to get youth involved in agriculture. Currently, where they make their most money in New Brunswick is on potatoes, blueberries, and cash crops. And New Brunswick does currently spend over $2.7 billion on food. So how do we get to tap into that also from an added value perspective? So there's some of the things I was thinking about. So now let me talk about some of the common issues. There was a lack of good irrigable farming land. I heard this loud and clear when Savannah and I were walking around and driving around New Brunswick and the East Coast, the land. And then there's always this issue, what do I do with the land? And blueberry production is another big source moving into the future. There are tons of potential opportunities from biofuels to organic produce and getting into the niche areas, I like to say. There's a lack of awareness in agriculture. We found this out very clearly when we were going around to the communities. There's some awareness, but just not enough. We talked to some of the elders, and the elders were very clear to us and said that the agriculture has got lost because we just go out and buy it now. It would mean so much more if we actually did grow it and produce it for ourselves. I like to talk about food security just quickly, and part of that food security is growing it for ourselves. Once upon a time, we used to grow a lot more of our own food, and we've lost that too, or it's really decreased over the years. The other thing that we noticed when we were walking and driving around is that there isn't an awareness of Agriculture Canada and the programs and services that are available. So we need to do a much better concerted effort on that. We need to engage youth and the communities and ask the communities what their interests are in terms of agriculture so that we can grow something moving forward. Some of the barriers, I always have to start with some barriers. The barriers are, of course, aging population, young workers leaving for other opportunities. We experience that in all of our communities across this country. The health and literacy issues, we have to make sure that we make that connection so people understand from diabetes and other ailments too. Less financial security. And in New Brunswick, we need to get the economic programs better understood. We need private investment, and we need to understand the employment and the overall economy. Barriers in the food and beverage sector. So starting and expanding farming is very expensive, as we all know. The regulations behind farming, the private lands, and then the aging demographic again. We need workers that are going to be working in the fields, farming, and also people that are going to do the added value in terms of business. And some of that added value can be things as simple as taking blueberries and making it into jam and selling jam. But it's to build that awareness within the communities about the opportunities. Issues with employment in New Brunswick First Nations. Not enough full-time permanent employment. I've heard that loud and clear from everyone. Inadequate wages and unfamiliar with agriculture outside of the reserve. And a lack of established businesses. I heard that loud and clear. And more employment opportunity. The need for more established partnerships to increase the employment, and a lack of consistent programming for these current initiatives and projects to get agriculture off the ground. Now I'll just switch quickly into agriculture and Agri-food Canada. So there is a group called the Indigenous Pathfinder Services. I think they'll be presenting in the near future. I just wanted to make sure that people know about that. And there's a 1-866 number for anyone to call. And if you're Indigenous, they will work through you through step 1 through to conclusion. So I actively encourage you, and they have an extensive knowledge of the programs. So some of the programs I'll talk about at a very high level now, such as Local Food Infrastructure Fund. It's a $50 million initiative over a 5-year period. And it's to build and work within that infrastructure and equipment improvement projects. It's also to strengthen local food systems. So we, the Indigenous community, are more than welcome to apply. There's also the Indigenous Agriculture and Food Systems Initiative. Now it's just $8.5 million up to 5 years, and it's for economic development opportunities for Indigenous people and communities in Canada. And it's non-payable contributions. So it's to benefit only Indigenous people across Canada. So I want to encourage people to actively pursue that type of programming too. There's a lot of other types of programming, such as CALA, which is a Canadian Agriculture Loans Act program. And it's another one that people, you can get funding towards capital equipment. There's also the Agri-Diversity program. And I encourage people to think about that programming. And so that's just programming at a high level that agriculture has, that we have First Nation communities investing their time towards. Now I want to speak a little bit about the Agriculture Canada Indigenous Student Recruitment Initiative. It was built and designed in 2016, and it's now in its 5th year, and I don't know what's going on with it. I'll say after COVID started. So I'll just present up till COVID. Maybe Savannah can give us an update on that afterwards. But the bottom line is that it's a student recruitment initiative that was started. And And part of the initiative is about building awareness. So we're out there in communities talking about agriculture and agri-food Canada in general, also about the various many job opportunities available within agriculture and agri-food Canada. And it's a department that hires over 5,000 employees, has 5,000 employees, plus there's 5,000 employees on the Canadian Food Inspection Agency side and more. During the summer, they have over 1,200 students hired. We're quite fortunate on the Indigenous engagement and awareness side. And on the recruitment side, we have over 100 students last year between the two departments. So with that, we decided that if we were going to hire students and get them to gain experience, the opportunities afterwards were about retaining those employees. So if a student was hired, we would guarantee them, if they wanted to work in the fall and winter, we would get them part-time work, plus they could go to university or college, and then come back and work for us in the summers. And we've had this going for, first year we had 20 students, Indigenous students across the country. Second year we had 40, and year 3 and 4 we had over 100 students combined between the two departments. What made the program so successful is that we have, it really is about the students and making sure that they develop work experience, that they get a great reference, that they have all of those backing things that are needed, such as we have an elder that was hired full-time that worked with our students. We had a team of people, including myself, that worked with the students, and they have their supervisors too. And we were getting them different types of skill sets over the years. They had their own Indigenous newsletter just for the students. They have their own Facebook account just for the students. So there were so many things that were made available just for them in order to make the student experience successful. We also have had that privilege of being able to hire permanently, I'd say on average between 7 and 10 students per year till this year. And so we've been able to bridge many of these students in with permanent jobs, and they're no longer students, they're employees. They've been able to go back to their communities and talk about the success that they've been having within those areas of agriculture and agri-food Canada where they're currently working. We have a Indigenous support and awareness office that Savannah will talk about after, that she belongs to. And we have student ambassadors working in the universities and colleges too. We've also have a high school program that we were in the second year of, where we bring in high school students for 6 weeks, and they learn various types of jobs. And we're hoping that that will build awareness and an understanding about agriculture in some of our largest science and technology centers across the country. But right now it's currently just a pilot in Alberta. And that's enough with that student issue, and hopefully Savannah will talk a little bit about it. So the why. Why do I do what I do? I do it to increase Aboriginal involvement in agriculture sector and to associate economic opportunities. I do it for supporting Indigenous values and environmental stewardship. I do it to build strong and trusted relationships. I do it to build Indigenous capacity through education and awareness. So that's part of that whole background that we have. Now I want to make sure I talk a little bit about a organization that I'm now currently a board member to. It's called the National Indigenous Agriculture Association. And I know JEDI knows about the organization. And it's led by Ken Bear and Dale Worm, who both currently live in Regina and in Saskatoon. And it's an Indigenous organization that will have groups associated all across every province in the country. But it really is about Indigenous agriculture and getting participation within it and growing it moving forward. So it's one of those groups I encourage people to think about. I also want to just mention a few things about some of the successful Indigenous communities out there. Now, I've been very fortunate to see many of those successful Indigenous agriculture adventures. The Blood Tribe is a great one where they have 25,000 acres of land that is irrigated. They have a massive beef industry. They have specialized in hay, and they have a fabulous export and import. Osoyoos First Nation in southern BC also had their whole entire system. Back roots is all based upon grapes. And so it's about wine, but the wine has led to golf courses, which have led to timeshares and many other things. But the basis is agriculture. There's one that I knew about from New Brunswick, which was, now I got to get a Rabano maple syrup. So to me, I still buy that maple syrup, and I live here in Ottawa, and yet I buy their New Brunswick maple syrup. So that to me is another success story. I had heard about the Indian island oysters and Mother Earth journey. So there's some pockets of great things happening in New Brunswick too, is how do we increase it and make it more. And now I'll pass it over to Savannah. And I was fortunate enough to coach and mentor Savannah a few years ago before she became a permanent employee too. So she is a graduate of the initiative and works full-time in New Brunswick, and will be a great resource for you all to contact. Anyways, Savannah.
Thanks, Darren. Yeah, Darren has been a wonderful mentor for me, even though he's technically retired, but still continues to be a great mentor to me. I'm going to give mostly a point of view as a student and someone who didn't really have prior knowledge of agriculture, because I think this might be where a lot of people might be coming from in the future, exploring these initiatives and whatnot. Like I've said, like it's been mentioned, I'm a graduate from the University of Ottawa in a degree in psychology. And when I got my student position with agriculture, I told them, I was like, I don't know a whole lot, but it's been such a great experience to learn food processing, because I think that's where a lot of a youth would really find it interesting to learn really how that food is processed and brought to our tables at the end of the day. With that, I would like to kind of highlight my community really quick, because in partnerships with communities, it's important that we really listen to each community and their needs. Obviously, you guys know that, but my community, 51% of it is diabetic. And so they've acquired vertical farming, and they've been able to engineer their most vegetables to help with diabetes. So that's one way that agriculture can be helpful in issues beyond food security, which is also very important. Yeah, so like Darren mentioned, I'm part of the Indigenous Support and Awareness Office, which is a office within the Science and Technology branch right now with the Agriculture Department. But they kind of oversee everything that has to do with Indigenous communities, programs, and innovation. To me, this was a really great introduction to the agriculture sector, because I had never really thought that there was not enough representation of Indigenous peoples. So obviously that, not surprising, but important to know. And also to learn the difference between Indigenous agriculture and kind of mechanisms versus perhaps Western mechanisms. So with the Indigenous Student Recruitment Program, also let me know if you can't hear me well. So for that, that's part of the economic development employment programs that I think will be very helpful to develop, and even for own communities to kind of develop these sorts of programs. And even if students do one term, one summer, that's knowledge that is super valuable and that they can build upon, or have the communities also build upon. Yeah, I think that is me for now. Thank you so much. And I think we'll turn it to Erica.
We're not quite ready to go to Erica
I'm
yet.
sorry.
Thanks, Savannah. Thanks, Savannah and Darren, for that. You know, there's a lot of great information there. Obviously, the big question that came up is everybody would like to have a copy of any additional resources or links after the presentation. And I know Savannah's already mentioned that she'd be happy to share that with us. So we'll make sure that the attendees get that as well. I just wanted to mention, I know I was planning on mentioning it later, but I just wanted to mention right now some of the upcoming sessions that we're going to be doing. So our next session next Tuesday, July 28th at 2 p.m., we're going to be hearing from Hayes Farm, which is a local farm here in Fredericton. It's a teaching farm, and they're doing some great things there. So we're going to hear about what they're doing. We're also going to be talking about some Indigenous and government partnerships moving forward. McGraw Seafood has been working quite a bit with the province of New Brunswick, with DAF, Department of Agriculture, Aquaculture and Fisheries. So we're just going to talk about how that partnership has moved forward. Then we're going to get into August 4th at 2 p.m. So then we're going to talk to some of the federal programs. Some of the federal programs are going to be described. So we're going to do, or sorry, this one is the provincial one, but it was the week after. So overview of Department of Aquaculture, Agriculture and Fisheries, the New Brunswick Indigenous Agriculture Development Program, the New Brunswick Food and Beverage Strategy, and ONB's Business Navigator Program. Those are all provincial programs which are available here that are resources for anyone interested in going into agri-food and agriculture. On August 11th, then we get into the federal programs, which is the Indigenous Pathfinder Service, like Darren mentioned, Indigenous food programs, opportunities for partnerships and joint ventures, and Indigenous Services Canada is going to speak for a little bit. And then on our last session, we're still working out the details 100% on this one, but we are going to be having a presentation about Indigenous agriculture from Farm Credit Canada. They're one of our sponsors. They do a lot of work out west, so they're going to talk about some of the services that they offer. And then we're hoping to highlight another Indigenous and government partnership in relation to agri-food and agriculture. So I know that Darren mentioned a lot of barriers, and just to make this a little bit more interactive, I created my own poll about some barriers. They don't include all of the barriers that Darren mentioned, like being regulations and the aging population and lack of programming, but I'm just going to do a quick poll here and put it out there. And if you guys want to answer, these are just some of my ideas that I thought, what are some of the biggest barriers related to agri-foods and agriculture in New Brunswick? So if all the attendees, if you just want to go ahead and give us an answer, that'd be great. I've got our first answer there. Okay, we've got a couple more. So just give it a few seconds for you guys to give it a chance to read through and give us your answers. They're coming in fast now. We've got almost 50% of everybody voted, so. All right, I think people might be done voting, so let's end it really quick and share the results. So as you can see, the biggest one that came in at 47% is unaware of potential supports related to agriculture. And that's, you know, where everybody wants to ask that list. What are the lists of supports? So we're going to get that to you. Number 2 is 42, funding to get started. And then we've got 37, lack of knowledge related to farming. So we're hoping to cover a lot of those things in the next 5 weeks. So we hope that you guys will join us for the next 5 weeks as well, not just today. And we look forward to having you soon. Now I would like to introduce Erica Ward. Erica is currently the manager of the Natoaganeg Community Food Center and has been with the center since it opened its doors in October 2016. Born and raised in Yilgarn First Nation, her connection to its members and traditional values runs strong. Erica is extremely passionate about establishing community bonding over healthy, real food. This could be over a bi-weekly community drop-in meal, at a session learning to pressure can moose meat, or a mushroom growing seminar, which are some of the center's many innovative programs. The Natoaganeg Food Center is a community-focused environment, and one of its many goals include putting real traditional food back onto people's plates. The center's culture of sharing comes from Yilgarn itself and involves community hunts and a chance for people to interact with and learn from elders. Erica, can you tell us the Mi'kmaq name of the center and what it means?
Hi everyone. Our full name is Natoaganeg Bistamune Gemk, And that loosely translates to Natoaganeg, of course, is our name, and that is where the eels burrow. And then Bistimuneg can be loosely translated to the place to get food, but just enough to sort of live. Not, you know, not like a grocery store or anything like that, but just enough to make ends meet, is what I've been told by elders. It has been translated a couple different ways, but yeah. So I'll jump right into, I have a PowerPoint presentation today. And as Gwen said, I am from Natoaganeg. I've been born and raised here. I lived here most of my life. I guess my intro was more of an intro to our center. So I'm just gonna get started. Bear with me because I've never done a PowerPoint through Zoom, so.
You can see your baby, Erica.
That is actually the previous manager's child. So I haven't had a chance to, I usually work from my laptop. So is everybody seeing this okay?
Yes, we can see your
PowerPoint
screen.
presentation? Yes? Okay. Okay, so this is our full name, Natoaganeg Community Food Center, Bistimuneg. And I'm going to talk a little bit today about healthy food access and the programming that we offer here at the center. So I'll start off first by talking about our partnerships. We are in partnership with Community Food Centers Canada. They're a Canada-wide organization. There are multiple food centers across Canada, mostly in larger cities. We are the first Indigenous community food center in Canada, as well as the smallest. So just in comparison, most food centers operate with a population of in the thousands. So there, I'll talk a little bit later on about our drop-in meal program, but they would serve anywhere from 300 to 500 members per drop-in meal, where we would only do 40 to 50. So we're essentially a micro community food center. We are in partnership with Eelgram First Nation, of course, and yeah, so that is just a little bit about our partnership. Here's some programming. So we fall under 3 pillars of programming. So the first being healthy food access, healthy food skills, and then advocacy and education. And as I go through my PowerPoint, you'll see the programming falls under these 3 tiers of programming. Here we have some photos of our youth programming, and then some beets. Last summer, we had an incredible abundance of beets last year, so I always like to throw that in. We had so many beets, we didn't know what to do with them by the end of it, but there was beets in almost every community home here in Eelgram. Okay, so this is just an image of our drop-in meal program. Right now, we have paused our drop-in meal program because of COVID, and we've replaced that with a Meals on Wheels program for our elders. So this meal is delivered twice weekly to elders within our community. It's a hot meal, and volunteers and community members sort of take turns dropping the meals off. This also gives us the opportunity for a little bit of engagement to check on our elders to see if they need anything. But now I'm going to show you a little video about our drop-in meal program and what we do. This is probably our biggest, our largest program. This is where we get a lot of our engagement from. So if somebody hasn't really participated in any programming, this is usually where they will start off, and then we can sort of engage them and say, hey, come on out to a garden workshop, or come on out to a canning workshop, and it's just a really great opportunity for engagement.
I'm Brian Matheson. I'm a local chef, and I was recruited to help out with the drop-in meals here. I come in and I cook, but the difference here from what I have cooked and what I usually cook elsewhere is that we're combining food that we buy plus food that's here, food that's donated, community food like moose meat, striped bass, we'll take some of these community provided foods from the garden out here as well. And we kind of combine it into interesting meals. We don't pressure anybody to be involved necessarily, but when there's volunteers around, they want to jump in. They could be 6 years old, they could be 60. Everybody's welcome in the kitchen. I welcome everybody's help, you know, based on skill level. I'll get them to work, get them doing whatever they can. And it's kind of interesting that way. You never know when you walk in who's going to be joining you in the kitchen. And sometimes, you know, it's a bit of a spread between when people get to sit down and have a shared meal at a hall or something like that. There's kids running around, grandmothers, there's elders.
When I come here to the drop-in meals, I see people come and they're enjoying each other's company and saying hi and speaking Mi'kmaq, and, you know, even with the young kids. And everything is all prepared, and the chef is fantastic, and they get all the workers that volunteer, and you have a nice facility for tables, and everything is all provided, so you can just come and eat and leave the dirty dishes and somebody washes them for you, so you don't have to do that. Is what I enjoy.
There's people from outside the community and inside the community. People who don't leave the community often, and there's people who don't come to this community often, all sitting down together. So
if you want to get involved, please reach out to us at the Natoaganeg Community Food Center. We're located in Eelgram First Nation, and our website is www.natoaganegcfc.ca.
Okay, so that is just a quick video about our drop-in meal program. So we do have a staff of 3. So you just seen Brian speak. He is our Red Seal chef on staff. He is the person who will mentor volunteers to come in the kitchen, cook with us. He also prepares our drop-in meals along with volunteers, as well as our any programming related to food. We have Brian who will facilitate cooking classes and things like that. He's an incredible asset to our team. We're so thankful to have him. So now I'm gonna move into our Good Food Bank. So how we originally got started was we seen a need for a food bank. We did originally have a food bank, however, it was in a closet, and it was servicing anywhere from 45 to 50 participants bi-weekly. The items that were going out were, you know, things like hot dogs, Mr. Noodles, things like that. So that's where sort of we really got started in seeing a need, and really looked at the bigger picture around, you know, people deserve the right to good food no matter their circumstance. So we moved spaces. So we moved from the band office into a facility of our own. And this is really where the good food movement within Eelgram, I think, started originally. And right here, we're gonna go into a little bit, another little video, and it'll tell us a little bit more about what we do here at the Good Food Bank.
Hi, I'm Erica Ward. I'm the program coordinator here at the Natoaganeg Community Food Center, located in Eelgram First Nation. Here at the Natoaganeg Good Food Bank, we offer a selection of healthy choices, as well as traditional protein donated by local community hunters. 40% of our food bank is fresh produce, with 15 to 20 being traditional protein. When community members arrive, they are able to walk through the space and have a grocery shopping experience. Community members are able to pick and choose what they want. And if they do not want an item, they will leave it behind. And if, you know, maybe if they want one extra item, that's also an option as well. Some community members have different preferences, health needs, or diabetic concerns. And we love being able to offer a selection to absolutely everyone and to have certain things on hand. It's not always easy or affordable to eat healthy. So here at the Good Food Bank, we love to help people make healthier choices when feeding their families. Our doors are open to all community members in Eelgram First Nation. Whether you are working or not working, or just struggling a little bit at that moment, you're always welcome to come. Our Good Food Bank program is completely confidential, and we're here to help you in any way that you would need. If you want to get involved, please reach out to us at the Natoaganeg Community Food Center. We're located in Eelgram First Nation.
Okay, so that video is about our Good Food Bank. I think it's, I would also like to mention that during harvest season, the majority of our produce comes from our community gardens here in Eelgram. That is maintained by our garden coordinator along with staff, volunteers, and we also will take items out of our Good Food Bank and can them or preserve them in some way, and then that is distributed to the community in that way. And then I'm gonna, okay, so here, oh, I have a word cut off here, but here's an image of our community garden outside of the food. We do a lot of programming workshops through the garden. A lot of things, like I said, we do canning workshops, pressure canning. We also will do like a community garden feast where we go out and harvest things out of the garden and we cook them all together and then enjoy it as a meal. Here's another image of our garden. Hannah was our garden coordinator a couple of years back, and as you can see from the background, it really took off. It was really incredible. And then we have here, we were harvesting some beets for a community meal. And then we also, here at the Food Center, we do weekly workshops. Right now, of course, they're on hold. However, we have replaced them virtually. So we are doing weekly cooking classes virtually. So if you guys want to check out our Facebook page, we do, Chef Brian will facilitate cooking classes and the ingredients are shared. So we try to give people the opportunity to cook along with us. And then we also do like a little draw during the cooking class. Lots of engagement happens. There's questions. So that's just a little information on how we've transitioned throughout this pandemic. However, originally we were doing, as you can see here, we did clay pottery, and then just a little background on why we utilize these and how our ancestors would have used these. And then we have some more images. There's a gallery wall of some of our programming. You have, there was a pressure canning session, drop-in meals, youth cooking classes, and then more pottery. There's another image, weekly workshops continued. We're hoping to get back into this sometime soon, whether it's virtually or in very, very small groups. So we're really missing our community members. Here we have food skills. So this is another part of our programming. So this can be anything from harvesting food out of the garden and bringing it in and preparing it. The carrots there that the kids are preparing came out of our garden. This was a youth cooking class. And then here is another cooking class with one of our summer students. And then food skills, we have one of our staff that was making loose skin again that day. And then we do youth programming. So youth programming has always been a big staple here at the center. Youth engagement is always so crucial and important, we believe. So we try to involve youth at every step of the way, whether it's cooking classes or gardening, volunteering at a drop-in meal. These kids were taking part in a cooking class that they were preparing for community members. And then we had a group of elders and community members come in, they served them, they prepared the food, then they served it to the elders and community members who joined us that day. Some more youth programming. And then here I have, we do an annual program survey. So I thought these might be neat to throw in. We surveyed almost 30 community members last fall. And these were the findings that we got back. 100% of residents said that the Natoaganeg CFC provides them with an important source of healthy food. 81% of residents made healthy changes to their diet since coming to the food center. 100% of respondents felt that they belonged to a community at the CAFC. 40% noted that their mental health is better now that when they first came to the CFC, and 48% said that their physical health is better. And that is the end of my presentation. So, yeah, so I'm all done.
Thank you, Erica. We love what you're doing in Natoaganeg. You know, I think it's such an important resource for your community. I think it's exciting what you're doing, and I think that I'd love to see more communities doing such a thing. So I created just a little quick poll, you know, because I wanted to get the people excited about where we're going. And let's see if I can figure out how to do the second one. And it's just a simple question, yes or no. Do you believe more First Nation communities should have community food centers like Yieldground does? The answers are coming in fast.
Yeah.
You won't be surprised, I don't think, by the responses. We'll let it come. We got 70% of the people. And
I'm so sorry that the video wasn't working as properly. The videos are available on our website as well, so I can share that.
well, I know for me that some of the videos slowed down a little bit, but I could always hear it. So yeah,
Okay.
if you could, if you've got those on your website, then we'll be sure to share those links too. That sounds great.
Okay, great.
And as you can see, 100% of the respondents to our little poll believe that more First Nation communities should have community food centers like Yieldground, because the work that you're doing is so important and really, you know, impactful for everyone. So congratulations on all that hard work.
Thank you so much.
So we are coming near to the end. I know it's already 3 o'clock, but we would love to answer a few questions if anyone has any. I know that Darren had to go, but Savannah is still here, as well as Erica, as you can see. So if anyone has any questions, if you want to write them in, I know that you are all looking for the additional resources or links, and we'll do our best to get those out to you. I know we'll work with Savannah on that, and you'll see that we've got a lot of resources in our upcoming webinars. So we hope that you guys sign up for those too, if you haven't already. I don't see any questions. So since it's already 3 o'clock, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mention our next session again. So next Tuesday, we're meeting with Hayes Farm. They run a regenerative farming certificate program, which is really interesting. We provided 2 bursaries to that program as a result of this plenary. Well, it's not a plenary, it's a webinar series now. But because of our sponsorships, we were able to sponsor 2 Indigenous learners to go to Hayes Farm and learn about farming. So it's really pretty exciting, and I know that they're enjoying it. We just did a blog post about them. So yeah, so Hayes Farm is going to come and talk to us next week about what they're doing and some of the practices that they've got in place. We're also doing a session on working together, Indigenous and government partnerships. Sometimes people say that it's tricky to create a partnership with government, but I know there's some places that are already doing it. So we want to talk about those. And we're happy that you could all join us today. I would like to thank our sponsors again, Farm Credit Canada, or FCC, also the Department of Agriculture, Aquaculture and Fisheries, the College Communautaire de Nouveau-Brunswick, Atlantic Canada Fish Farmers, Artful Sciences, Alnoig, and Crown Plaza, Fredericton. I also want to thank our guest speakers today, Savannah, Erica, and Darren, who's already left. We really appreciate you guys coming on and helping us out today. Your sessions were really great. Would have been great if we could have done them back in March before the growing season and stuff, but we were flexible and we managed to move ahead with the webinar anyway. So I'm really happy that you guys were able to still join us, and thanks so much.
And thank you all.
Oh, there's Alex. Alex, I turned off the video earlier, so if you wanted to say a final word, you'll have to turn on your own.
Well, just No, that's okay. I think I just want to say thank you very much to the presenters. I think it was an excellent opportunity to know what's going on and what the young people's vision are in this area. And I think I look forward to for the next series. And everybody have a good day and stay safe.
Yes.
Alex.
Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. And we'll see you next week.